Black Ledger of 1893, The Silent Dynasty. Narrator: Elena Thorne, an outcast naturalist. The Silence of the Alps. My name is Elena Thorne. For 80 years, the Royal Geographic Society has labeled me a madwoman. They burned my sketches, shredded my journals, and struck my name from the annals of natural history. But the scars on my soul do not fade, and the screams I heard beneath the Glarus Pass still echo in the quiet of the night. It was the winter of 1893. The world was intoxicated by the steam engine and the promise of the 20th century. But while London celebrated, the mountains were swallowing men whole. It began when the 14th Infantry Regiment, 100 seasoned soldiers, vanished into thin air during a routine patrol in the Swiss Alps. No bodies were found. No blood. Only their uniforms, standing upright in the snow like hollow ghosts, as if the men inside had simply evaporated into the frozen mist. The government called it an avalanche. The locals whispered about Die Schattenfresser, the shadow eaters. I knew neither was true. I had found a fossilized tooth in the permafrost weeks prior. It wasn't bone, it was obsidian, etched with veins of a glowing, organic violet light. The throat of the world. I hired a guide named Merrick, a man whose face was a map of tragedies. We didn't climb the peaks, we went into the veins of the earth. We found a fissure, a blue, pulsating throat in the glacier that seemed to breathe. As we descended, the air grew thick with the smell of ozone and ancient, wet stone. The temperature rose. We weren't going into a cave, we were entering a biological system. The walls weren't just rock, they were covered in a translucent, amber-like resin. And inside that resin, we found them. The soldiers. They weren't dead. They were suspended in a state of horrific hibernation, their eyes wide open, staring at a darkness we couldn't yet see. They are being kept, Merrick whispered, his voice trembling. Like grain in a silo. The Lycans of the First Age. Then, the sound started. Not a growl. Not a roar. A rhythmic, metallic click click click. It was the sound of bone hitting obsidian. In the flicker of my oil lamp, they emerged. These were the Lycans of the First Age. Forget the myths of hairy wolves and silver bullets. These creatures were masterpieces of evolution. 7 feet of hairless, marble white muscle, their skin slick and cold. They had no eyes, only deep, heat-sensing pits in their snouts. They moved with a terrifying, liquid grace, folding their elongated limbs like spiders to fit through the narrowest cracks. They didn't attack us immediately. They studied us. They tilted their heads, sniffing the air for our fear. I realized then that we were not the masters of this planet. We were merely the latest crop of livestock that had grown over their ancient basement. The city of obsidian. Merrick was taken first. A Lycan dropped from the ceiling, no sound, no warning. It wrapped its long, pale fingers around his throat and vanished into a crevice no human could survive. I was alone. I followed the clicking deeper, into a cavern that defied the laws of architecture. A city built of black glass and gold, illuminated by rivers of molten violet light. This was the seat of the Silent Dynasty. I saw murals that predated the pyramids, paintings of these creatures herding mammoths and building empires while our ancestors were still shivering in mud huts. In the center of the city stood the queen. She was a nightmare of beauty and terror. Her wings were like gossamer silk, and she sat upon a throne made of the bleached skulls of forgotten kings. She didn't speak, but her thoughts entered my mind like needles of ice. They weren't waiting for a war, they were waiting for the surface to warm. For the ice to melt so they could reclaim the garden above. The escape and the warning. I escaped only by the grace of a methane pocket. I triggered an explosion that collapsed the main artery of the city, sealing the Silent Dynasty back into the deep dark. I staggered into a village 3 days later, my hair turned white, my fingers frozen to my journals. The men in gray, the precursors to the secret services, confiscated everything. They told me that if I spoke, I would vanish just like the 14th Regiment. But look at the world now. The glaciers are receding. The mountains are shifting. The earthquakes in the deep ocean aren't just shifting plates, they are the sounds of a dynasty waking up. Every time you hear a strange clicking in the walls of your house, or see a shadow move in a way that defies gravity, remember my name. I am Elena Thorne. And I have seen the end of the world.